In 2014, Malmö was hit by a once-in-a-100-year rain. There was major flooding across the city, and here in Augustenborg, the park turned into a lake. But that was just as it was planned 15 years earlier. Rainwater in Augustenborg flows through channels into ponds, creating wetland habitats full of insect life and plant life and bird life as well. They create pleasant spaces for people and also tackle the area's problem with flooding.
My name is Helene Johansson and I'm the director of the Scandinavian Green Roof Institute.
Can you explain, Helene, how the green roofs and the stormwater system all works together?
It starts here, up on the green roofs, because they are so very good at retaining and delaying the rainwater. 50 up to 80-90% of the rain will stay on the green roofs and not go out into the system. And if you combine them with the open stormwater systems, as we have in Augustenborg, you will reduce the risk of floodings enormously. Mainly we have this sedum, which is a succulent, a plant that doesn't require very much humidity, so they can survive up on these roofs where you don't have any water. But they are very thin, and they are not very good at retaining water and not with biodiversity. So if you can have a bit thicker roofs with more biodiversity, like meadow and perennials and bushes and so on, you will have so much more benefits from the green roofs. Mainly retaining rainwater, but also for the biodiversity, cleaning the air from pollution and carbon dioxide and insulation and so on.
So, I mean, this is an experiment really that started 20 years ago. Where do you see the future? What's happening elsewhere and what's going to happen into the future?
With this climate changes we're having at the moment, it's more and more important because we are experiencing more and more longer periods of drought and then floodings. And we have to build the cities so they can cope with that in a better way. And the blue-green solutions, the green roofs and the green facades and so on, they are so very good for that. We have to think about the people living in the cities, to have good air to breathe and also a nice city, a nice green city, so they can be happy.
When people moved into Augustenborg at the start of the 1950s, the area was in many ways what we would call today at the cutting edge of sustainable development. But as time went by, Augustenborg became a bit of a forgotten corner of Malmö, and combined with the physical problems around flooding and lack of investment, it was time for a regeneration of the neighbourhood. The City of Malmö was early in its work with sustainable development, and it started thinking about what an eco-transition would look like in an existing community. And Augustenborg became the first eco-stad and the first eco-city development, regenerating this part of the city in the late 1990s. One of the key principles of the eco-stad and Augustenborg project was that the local community should be involved as much as possible in the design and implementation of changes in the local area. Design processes were set up around changes to the green space. One local resident who was an amateur water enthusiast started his own business to design and build part of the open stormwater management system. Another group of residents came together to start Malmö's first carpool, and 70 households worked with a pilot recycling scheme, and those residents wrote the brief for the architects for the design of the recycling houses with green roofs, bat boxes, windows in the doors and easily clean floors, things like that, which were ideas that came from local people. The impact of eco-stad and Augustenborg has been wide around the world, but also within Malmö. Some ideas have been taken on into other places. Sunken parks now work as stormwater storage spaces and stormwater buffers. Recycling is common in all neighbourhoods across the city now. Carpools and bike pools can be found all over the place. Augustenborg still remains as something of a blueprint for a future investment programme in changes to existing communities to make more sustainable and resilient neighbourhoods in existing parts of the city. Another community initiative was set up by a young woman in the neighbourhood who saw the need to provide childcare for people to enable them to go out for employment training and for other courses. So she set up the Augustenborg community organisation to provide meaningful activities for children and young people. They established the first community gardens in Augustenborg, and the community gardens have now become commonplace across the city. Sustainability thinking has become a natural part of everything that happens in Augustenborg. So when MKB were planning one of the first major urban densification projects in an existing neighbourhood in Malmö, it became obvious to them that it had to have a strong sustainability profile. The result was Greenhouse.
My name is Frida Persson. I work as a project manager for social sustainability at MKB in Malmö. MKB is Malmö public housing company with around 24,000 rental apartments all around the city of Malmö.
It's an incredible view up here on the roof terrace of Greenhouse. How did the local community react to the plans to build Greenhouse here?
At first, some were a bit skeptical, but then there's been only proudness and people being curious for something new happening in this area with no new construction since the 1950s. Greenhouse is a lovely looking house, the high architectural values, and that's also helped to see the project as an asset to the neighborhood.
So what lessons has MKB taken from the experience of stad and Greenhouse to the rest of the city?
For Greenhouse, valuable lessons are the importance of common areas in the house. The possibility for the residents to get together and meet each other and share common interests, to have this feeling of community and belonging.
In parallel with the regeneration of Augustenborg, a new sustainable city district was under development in the Western Harbour as part of the Bonolett Housing Expo. A place-based blue-green strategy was part of the quality programme in Bonolett, providing a guide for developers on the integration of biodiversity into their developments. Green roofs and open stormwater systems take care of the rainwater, and deep soils enable the planting of mature trees to provide a quick effect and an attractive outdoor environment. Gardens were planted with nectar-giving flowers and edible trees and shrubs, and bird and bat boxes provided additional wildlife habitat. The aim was to create an attractive environment for nature and for people from across the city. The success of the integration of nature into new development became the norm for subsequent phases in the Western Harbour and for new projects across the whole of Malmö. We know how important nature is for our health and well-being, not to mention the food we eat, the air we breathe and the water we drink. Nature-based solutions are the win-win-win option for a more livable and sustainable city for our two-legged, four-legged and six-legged inhabitants.